Good evening and welcome to Sustainability with Sasja. And we have Sasja here in the studio. Welcome, Sasja.
Thank you very much, Kajsa.
You're coming straight from Switzerland,
Correct.
or you've been here in Stockholm for a while. But
yes, correct.
You work and live in Switzerland. And last week there was actually a public vote on a climate law. Can you tell me a bit about this?
This is a very interesting thing. It's quite unique that you have a Swiss direct democracy applied on a climate law, actually trying to get Switzerland to decrease their emissions by, I think, half until 2030 from 1990, sort of a baseline. It failed.
Why?
I think about 51% of the people who voted for this voted against, and I think it was initiated by a right-wing party and a lot of industry lobby in Switzerland, basically trying to say to large groups of the population and the middle class that this will be too costly, it will not have the effect it's needed, it will have more of a sort of a negative effect on the Swiss economy. And this is something that clearly indicates in any other case, in any other country, that the fight or battle for the sort of a middle ground within a climate emergency is about the middle class, about the winning the votes that are feeling that they will be impacted financially, economically, with new laws, with the new sort of a Paris, with new regulation in relation to support to Paris Climate Agreement and so on.
Because Switzerland, they are a part of the Paris Agreement.
Yes.
But still?
They are, and they will. I mean, eventually they will have to deliver on it. Of course, this is by 2040, 2050. So they have, this vote was more about getting it faster down to the levels that are much more aggressive, I would call, than previously said in the negotiations that Switzerland had. But what is interesting is the fact that although the Switzerland, with the infrastructure, with the richness of the resources it has, also has a quite reluctant population in big parts to actually support this.
Yeah.
And it is a warning sign to many other democracies around the world who wants to sort of push the climate agenda, which we definitely need pushing forward, but also getting that in a way that you get this transition where you include the huge groups of population that will have been impacted by this in a negative way.
Definitely, because these are the kinds of laws and policies that we need if we want to combat
I mean, this
climate
is just
change.
the beginning. I mean, we will have this coming up. You have a lot of a lot of different organizations and individuals suing governments around the world, in Netherlands and some other parts of the world, where they sue the governments for not being able to deliver on their climate promises. And this is something that will probably increase going forward. And I'm certain that there will be developments in Switzerland that will lead to that as well.
We will see. Also moving on, we have, I read an article in Bloomberg by David Fickling about the solar panel crisis.
Yeah, look, it is not a crisis from that point of view, because the components that are used and produced and refined in China are getting scarce. And I think what is this is all about, it's about the capacity of the China, but it's also about the way how we can increase or triple or quadruple the production of these components going forward. And it's telling you a story where the China is center of gravity for transition to sustainable future, having the industries, having the capacity, I mean, in many cases having refineries for many of these rare earths and metals that we need, semiconductors that are used for production of solar panels, among other things. So the China has a central role, although a lot of technology and a lot of other IP that comes from other parts of the world, China has the muscle, industrial muscle, to produce what we need going forward. Of course, there are costs related to this and negative aspects of that as well.
Exactly. It was about as well the raw materials that they take from Xinjiang. Help me with the pronunciation, please. Yes, exactly. And the questionable situation there.
Yes. I mean, they are, and as you said, I mean, there are a lot of challenges related to that. Of course, in this region in China, which stands about, I think, for about 45-50% of capacity of semiconductor industry comes from this part. There are a lot of challenges related to minorities that live in this place. I mean, human rights issues, and we recently had a lot of boycotts of Western countries expecting Chinese,
H&M for example.
H&M being one of them, many others expecting no child labor, forced labor that is used in this province in China. And this is of course something that if you think about sustainable transition, if you think about energy transition, solar power in particular, you would not necessarily always think that the big parts of semiconductors coming, polysemiconductors coming, are coming from China, and from the place where the minorities are suppressed, in many cases also forced to work. So it has a human rights sort of a issue linked to it that is usually not addressed.
Do you think it will be a move to other parts, like, I don't know, let's say Australia or Brazil?
Of course, I mean, look, the production of these semiconductors in the places like China is supported by infrastructure. They have a muscle of scale and also the cheap labor that is part of that. If you would move it, I mean, it's a part of the problem. So if you would move it to other parts of the world, you need to sort of follow the same principle, that you find a scale and a muscle in terms of the infrastructure, and that you have the labor costs that are sort of in line with what you have in China.
Definitely. I also read in your newsletter that comes out every Sunday about quite good news from Volvo.
Yes.
They want to build cars without using fossil fuels by 2026.
Yes, that's correct, and it's very positive. And it's of course it's Swedish. It's positive. It has a sort of a forward-looking perspective of where the industry is moving. It's going to push many other things.
Yeah.
They are also planning. I think they have announced that today to set up an aluminium factory that will also sort of help them to get to that position. They are as fossil neutral as possible, which is a very positive news from investment perspective, but also positive news for climate in general.
Definitely. Is there anything else that you would like to discuss today?
I mean, there are a lot of things happening right now. I mean, there was a G7 meeting lately discussing various type of macroeconomic issues around the world, politics and so on. Climate is still a big topic on the agenda. However, it's gaining less and less attention, I think, in many of these conversations, partly because we have this sort of reshuffling of geopolitics again. The Americans are back at the table, which is very good, I think, in many ways. In the same time, there is this big question mark, and it's coming. It is related to Switzerland, particularly for this vote, because it tells you if we can't do this in Switzerland, if we can't do it in the countries that have resources, capacity and muscle to do it, what are our ability and possibilities for us to do it somewhere else? So that's one of the, and I think more and more forward, I mean, if you look more and more forward a couple of years, you will have more and more discussion about the social angle of this and how big parts of the population will be affected and included in this transition, and in what way. And of course we have a government crisis in Sweden today, so it's a big topic, of course.
It's a very big topic, yeah, definitely. Maybe we can talk about that another day.
Yes, we can do that when we know more of the outcome.
Exactly,
of what's going on.
We will have to wait and see. Well, Sasja, thank you for coming to the studio today. And thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to give us a like, and please follow our channel. And me and Sasja will be back in 2 weeks' time.
Thank you.